You know, everything goes back to our thoughts. Everything. Everything. It really can be easy. It starts with having thoughts that line up with truth that feels good.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Wendy Dillard's Live. And I am your host, Wendy Dillard. How are you doing tonight? So the reason that I do this show weekly is because there are a lot of people talking about law of attraction that come into my awareness, and they don't really understand law of attraction. Sometimes they just think, well, if they think positive thoughts, they'll get positive results. But they don't get positive results. I mean, sometimes they do, but in many cases they don't. And as a law of attraction coach, I connect with, or people connect with me, where they tell me they've tried and tried and tried to, quote, use law of attraction, but it's not working for them. And so the purpose of this show is to debunk the myths and to talk about aspects of one's life that affect how law of attraction delivers things to them. So I've got a fun topic for tonight, and I'll briefly cover that for about 15 minutes. And then if the viewers who are watching have questions, I will take their questions. They'll put it in the chat room, and then I'll do my best to answer them. So anyway, I want to kind of do a little bit of housekeeping. As I am a law of attraction coach, you can talk to me privately for an exploratory conversation to see if perhaps coaching with me is what could benefit you. Of course, I'm biased. I think it could benefit everybody. But if that's something you're interested in, you can go to my website, which is wendydillard.com. And in the footer, you can find a button that says book an exploratory conversation. And so that's all there is to it. And I do have some spaces open right now. And so if that's something of interest to you, please feel free to book a session, a free session with me. Okay. So for tonight's topic, I want to talk about the complexity of our life and the complexity of our vibration. So I know I've talked in previous shows how law of attraction always matches us up with whatever we're vibrating to. And that's what we're vibrating to, both consciously and unconsciously, which means some things we're aware of and some things we're not. And I like to say that if you're not getting the results that you desire, it's because you do have unconscious beliefs in the mix, which is what's creating the vibration that actually is in contradiction to what you desire, because it's only our vibration that counts in terms of law of attraction. Law of attraction only speaks one language, and law of attraction speaks the language of vibration. It doesn't care what you say. It doesn't care what you plead. It doesn't care that you're a good person, and it doesn't care if you're a bad person, because you always get an equivalent result to what you're vibrating to. So that's kind of what I want to talk about. So some things came into my awareness this week, which is the reason I want to talk about this. So I personally had been working on an issue where I didn't like what I was getting as a result, but most importantly, I really follow my feelings. And if I have a negative feeling, that's always an indicator that I'm out of alignment for the purposes of law of attraction. I'm not delivering to law of attraction positive vibrations. So anyway, I started working on it, and I ask myself a lot of questions, and I go back into oftentimes my childhood because that's just what's easiest for me, although it's not necessary. Um, and I was kind of looking at some issues or beliefs that I had, and I wondered where they came from and what was going on. And so I'll tell you one of them. So I had this image of being a child, maybe 3 years old, and my mother's attention was on my brother, who is about a little less than 3 years younger than me. And when she turned her back on me to focus on him because she was feeding him, in that moment, I felt a lack of love. As in, I felt she had withdrawn her love from me. I mean, isn't that crazy? But that's what my little 3-year-old brain said, like, because up until my brother was born, I got her full and undivided attention, which, by the way, I really liked. And it made me feel loved. So for almost 3 years, I was in this pattern that mom would look at me and I knew that she was loving me through her actions. But then all of a sudden, my brother was born and she was focusing her attention more on him than on me. And I didn't really like that because when she turned her back on me, and I mean her literal back, when she turned her back in order to focus on my brother, I had this feeling that she didn't love me anymore. So anyway, in my processing, I'm thinking, wow, that is really strange that I would think she doesn't love me anymore. Um, and I knew that wasn't the truth, but that's what my little 3-year-old brain concluded. And so, anyway, now think about this 3-year-old who believes that when mommy is not looking directly into my eyes and giving me her undivided attention, it means I'm not being loved. So, going through life, I wanted to make certain that people looked at me when they were interacting with me, and that's how I felt loved. And then if they didn't, I felt like, oh, I need to do something in order to get their attention, to turn their attention back on me. And so I did all sorts of things to get their attention. Now, trying to get their attention became a pattern. And I wanted people to know I should be the subject that they pay attention to. So I would work really hard to be really good at something, because if I was really good at something, that would give them reason to like pay attention to me. And you know what's strange? It didn't work, but I kept doing it over and over and over. And like I even remember I'd always been overweight, and my mother had always talked to me about how to get thin. And that was like her biggest desire for me. And I went away to college. I went on this crash diet. I don't recommend this. I was eating 600 calories a day, and I lost a big portion of weight. And so when I came home to my family after I had graduated college, I had this expectation that they were going to go, wow, Wendy, you've lost so much weight. You look fabulous. Good job. And they didn't do that. They looked at me and went, oh, wow, you lost weight. And then they went on to, hey, let's talk about what we're having for dinner. And I'm like, hello, like, why are you not giving me more accolades? And the first couple of days that I was home, I kept bringing up that, look how much weight I've lost. And I had to buy new clothes because my other ones were too big. And it was like nobody cared. And I'm like, what the heck? So anyway, fast forward to like just recently, I was realizing how one erroneous conclusion, such as mom doesn't love me when she doesn't look at me, expanded to I need people to look at me to know that I'm loved. And then when I didn't get that to work, then I came up with this other crazy idea. Well, I'll be really good at something, or I'll have some huge accomplishment, and then they'll pay attention to me. And so I thought for sure losing a lot of weight and being relatively thin was going to do the trick. And that didn't do it. And so I've kind of spent my whole life seeking out other people's accolades for accomplishments. But even though I didn't necessarily get their accolades, I still kept doing it. And this last week, I looked at that from a very different perspective and realized, wow, that first erroneous conclusion where I decided when people don't give me their undivided attention, it means they're withdrawing their love from me, spiraled into other conclusions or strategies, such as I need to be really good at something so that they'll give me accolades. Well, now I'm only telling you about two things, but it's like one erroneous conclusion led to another. Now, in other areas of my life, there were other erroneous conclusions. And as I was working on this week, I noticed that it's like one bad limiting belief or one limiting belief, which was based on an untruth, and then another limiting belief also based on an untruth, and then another one and another one. They all kind of started interconnecting. Like if you think of a jigsaw puzzle and you have the sky up here and the grass down here and a boat in the middle and a house over to the left, those are four different aspects of the puzzle. But if you only look at one aspect of the puzzle, you don't realize until you start to put the whole puzzle together, or you cheat and you look at the cover on the box, that all of these things fit into the overview or the big picture. And that's kind of how I see limiting beliefs. Sometimes I'll have a client come to me and say, I want to clear up my limiting beliefs on money. I have money issues. And we start working together, and we might start working on money, but then the next thing that happens is now we're working on the maternal relationship. And then we start working on the husband relationship. And then we start looking at things that are going on at work between, my client and their boss. And it may seem like we're going off track because my client only came to me to clear up the money issues. But just like the jigsaw puzzle, there are so many aspects to the overall picture. Maybe the client is completely aware of money issues and financial things that are going wrong. But that's like saying I'm only focused on the part of the puzzle that's the sky. But the sky is connected to the water, which is connected to the grass, which is connected to the house over to the left. And so all of these pieces actually fit together to make up the picture of one's life. And so when you're trying to clean something up in your vibration, you may have done a good job. And I've done things where I had a great session with my coach, and I'm like, wow, I feel so much better about this particular situation. But then I noticed law of attraction wasn't delivering yet the results that I was looking for. And I'm like, okay, well, then there must be something else going on. And then sure enough, the next time I had a coaching session, yep, there was something else that was going on. And so, I like to say to my clients, I believe that we've covered this particular aspect, but now go out and live your life, and we'll see if that takes care of this whole issue. If not, that means that there's another something connected to it. So it doesn't mean that we didn't do good work in one particular session. It just meant there were many different aspects that were connected to why a person was struggling financially. So anyway, I'll stop there because that's a lot to take in. But I wanted to explain and discuss how it can be very complex to untangle what our vibrations are, because it's more than just one thought. Especially if you're older, you've had many thoughts that you've been thinking habitually, and it's those habitual thoughts that are untrue and don't serve you that get in the way of allowing law of attraction to deliver what it is that you truly desire. So anyway, thank you for hearing me out. One of the things I love about this particular platform I'm on is that when I end the live stream, it will be available in playback form on the 3 different platforms that I'm using, which is Facebook, LinkedIn, and as of this week, I'm now also using YouTube. So if you're seeing me on any one of those platforms, you can watch the playback. And that to me is what makes this show so valuable, is it's not just me doing it live that's important, but that it's something that goes on in archive form. So I've been watching, I have a dashboard that lets me know how many people are viewing me, and the number keeps going up and down. And so I'm at the point now that if you have a question, I am more than happy to answer it. Ask the question in the chat and be as specific as possible. I'll do my best to answer it. And just because somebody is watching the show doesn't mean they want to ask a question, but I am absolutely available to do so. Okay, I have a friend named Dennis, and he is not a Facebook member, and so he shoots me his questions via email. So he just sent me a question, and it says, what are some reasons that you think that people sometimes get the opposite of what they set goals for, instead of achieving the goals that they set? For example, at the beginning of the year, people will set a lot of great goals, and before June or sooner, those goals are often forgotten and no longer active goals. Well, thank you for that question. So it kind of, let me break the question up into pieces, because part of it is they get the opposite of what they want, and the other is it's forgotten about. So I'll talk about the forgotten about first. So if somebody's forgotten about their New Year's resolution over time, it's because their reason why they wanted that was not powerful enough to sustain the goal. In other words, when you really want something, you have a really strong reason why you want that goal. And it's not something that goal is not something that just kind of fades away easily, if your why is really important to you. Because I know, like, when I really want something, I think about it day and night, night and day, 24/7. It never leaves my consideration. And so, but there are also goals that I've made that it's kind of like in the moment, like, especially if somebody says, well, what is it you want? What are your goals? I'll come up with something. But then the next day, I don't even remember having had that conversation. So that is obviously a fleeting goal and not something that I put a whole lot of my attention into. And if I don't put my focused attention on something, law of attraction doesn't really respond to it, because I don't have a sustaining signal. It's kind of like, when we talk about our cell service and we say, oh, the cell service is weak. I normally have 5 bars and now I only have 1. Oh, now I have 0. Well, it works the same thing with law of attraction. If you don't have enough bars in your own personal signal, law of attraction can't receive the signal of what you desire. So that answers the question about why sometimes New Year's goals can be easily forgotten. Now, as far as New Year's goals that are set and people get the opposite of what they truly desire, the reason for that is because there's more unconscious negative vibration in the mix with the conscious desire of what they want. So sometimes we call it a sabotaging effect, like we get really close to getting what we want. Let's say somebody wants to lose weight and they start losing weight, they go to the gym, they're doing really good. And then let's say they've lost 20 pounds and people are saying, wow, you look awesome. And without their conscious awareness, maybe they feel like having people notice what they look like makes them uncomfortable. And so that discomfort vibration actually sabotages the weight loss vibration where they were doing really good. And then all of a sudden they go, well, maybe I'll skip the gym today. I've been doing so good. And then before you know it, they just stop going to the gym. And so when a person doesn't get what they ultimately desire, it's always because they have contradiction vibration in the mix. Okay, does anybody else have a question? And Dennis, if you have another question, I know you'll send it to me via email. Thank you for that question. That was a good one. And also just to kind of throw in here, like my topic for the night was, if somebody is not getting what they desire, it could be that there are various aspects of different vibrations that are in the mix, and they're just looking at things in one lane, if you will, and not considering any other lanes. And that's why having a coach can be so valuable, because, you know, like myself as a coach, it's my job to help somebody understand all the different components in their vibrational mix. And then for wherever there are negative vibrations, I help them turn them around. Because if we can clear out the negative vibrations and all there is positive, you're going to get what you desire. Because the formula for manifesting your heart's desire is get clarity about what you want, and then take inspired action toward getting that thing, and then notice opportunities that show up that help you move toward what you want. But the formula for not getting what you want is to do all those things and doubt it. And when you doubt what you desire, that's actually considered resistance. And wherever there is resistance, you lose the continuity of what you're vibrating to. And law of attraction now has a mixture of different things, and it's going to provide what you're vibrating to. And if you're vibrating to doubt about the thing you desire, it's going to give you more circumstances for you to doubt. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, Dennis responded to me. He said, thank you and good answers. Well, you're very welcome, Dennis. I'm glad you asked the questions. Okay, just a reminder, if you want to have a free, it's not a free coaching session per se, but it's a free exploratory conversation where we explore what it is that you're trying to work on and determine if a coaching relationship with me is something that could help resolve that. I would love to, have the opportunity to chat with you. And you can go to wendydillard.com and click on the button in the footer that says book an exploratory conversation. So again, I do see some other people that are in this show. I'm going to call them lurkers for fun. They're not making comments. They're not asking questions, but they're there just kind of watching. And you know what? That's okay too. So I believe that's it for tonight. And I look forward to whatever topic Spirit provides me for what we're going to talk about next week. And I will be here next week like I am every Tuesday night at 6 Central Time, 7 Eastern. And I look forward to what's next. I never know what it is until it's It's given to me. And so I know that whatever topic I speak on, it's something that somebody who's going to watch this show, whether live or in the future, it's going to resonate with them, and it's going to meet them where they're at. So that's it for tonight. Thank you for being here, and we'll talk again next week.